28th, and we had a bounce in the market here today. So this volume weighted average price clearly is one that continues to be respected by the market as we started to stabilize here. And then today, as we got back above the week to date volume weighted average price, which we can see on the 15-minute time frame, or I thought we could, let me just put that back on there. As we got back above the week to date volume weighted average price, the buyers did in fact take control and hold that control from that point. We're now above the volume weighted average price from last week's high. We still have a declining 5-day moving average, so we remain with mixed messages. The primary trend is lower. We came down to a level of interest. That level of interest has provided buyers so far, and what we would be looking for if this market is going to continue to hold on, the ideal scenario would be that we pull back down towards, we can start to mark a volume weighted average price off of this low, which is now currently tied with the week today. But, perhaps we come down, do something like this tomorrow, come down and, see that 5-day moving average start to flatten out. These volume weighted average price levels come up under it. And then perhaps we can go on and do some work on bigger levels from larger time frames. But again, the pattern is lower highs and lower lows. We've had some incredibly violent rallies this year. This might be the beginning of another one, but the last rally failed right where it was supposed to at that 20-day and and day moving average, the volume weighted average price off of this peak and the 200-day moving average. So now the buyers have come in. This is, as I've been saying, this is why all of our ideas have been C-list ideas, because we're at such an uncertain level. Now we can look back and go, wow, I shoulda, woulda, coulda bought in there, and maybe you did buy there. But the point is, we don't know till after the fact if a level is going to hold. So as we see near-term evidence, which you can see on the side of Alpha Trends there, that I tweeted the chart right there, that if you can see that the buyers are starting to take control, if it's within your risk parameters, you take some with a stop and sell some out, and maybe all of it. That's always your point of view in terms of how much risk you're comfortable with and how much uncertainty, because again, we have these markets hitting the key levels. The key levels are finding buyers in the Nasdaq. That is the 38.2% retracement, as well as the volume weighted average price from the COVID low. We closed under that by 1 day. That got people tweeting about it that I've never seen tweet about the anchored VWAP. It's just kind of funny. And now we're bouncing again. So, that bounce occurred as it came right up above the volume weighted average price for the week. And, we had opened on a gap earlier in the morning. That gap failed. We came up in the afternoon, made a higher low, and then pushed through it. That's why I got involved in some, despite the declining 5-day moving average. I did sell out of all of it because I'm not into, gambling on the next earnings report that might send it down here. If instead the market gaps higher, it can go without me. I don't care. I know that the environment we're in is one of a lot of risk, that I'm not willing to sacrifice the gains that I made today for a gamble tomorrow. I can always reposition, or I can miss the trade, and that's fine, but I don't like to lose money. Most people, it seems, don't mind losing money because they're just gamblers in the market, and they complain about this and that. And the fact is, the market broadcasts these messages, pretty clear right now. They're pretty clear. It's still kind of murky, but clear enough to maybe take a small position when we get above these key levels in the Russell 2000 as well. I didn't get involved in the Russell because it's just the worst of the group, and it had a very strong rally, but no one gets them all. No one should look to get them all. We're finding buyers right where we were supposed to, as we've mentioned. That volume weighted average price from the COVID low, the 38.2% retracement, the volume weighted average price from this gap lower, all kind of in that same area. Now perhaps we're going to get a bounce that gets everyone excited again. And where does it have the potential to go? Most likely up to here. What will we have happen? The VWAP off of this peak will come down. We can put a volume weighted average price off of this high, which we're above. So that means we would then look to this volume weighted average price and the declining 20-day moving average and the declining 50-day moving average and the declining year-to-date VWAP. It's more likely that this prior support will act as resistance if it continues higher and then roll back over. So, we're still in a downtrend. You can't get too excited or upset about missing. You can't get too excited about 1 day's rally and you can't get upset about missing 1 day rally when we still have a declining 5 day moving average, 20-day moving average, 50-day moving average, and all of that. The semiconductors have been the weakest recently, and they have come down to that volume weighted average price from the COVID low. And today we're getting a bounce. The last bounce failed right where it was supposed to. That is the volume weighted average price off of this peak. And we now see that even above that level, we have this declining 20-day moving average. And above it, we have the 50-day moving average. So in the next couple days, this volume weighted average price is going to look something like this. So does it rally up to there, make another lower high, and then fall apart? Or does it say, we're going to find bidders that come in and take it up to the 50-day moving average, and then maybe take it up to the declining year-to-date VWAP? My crystal ball is broken. I don't predict. I look to say where the odds aligned on multiple time frames. We don't have that trend alignment, so I'm taking it very slow in terms of overnight exposure and more aggressive with shorter term intraday trades. Alpha Trends is a swing trade service. The swing trades are not clear, so I'm not providing guidance for swing trades in an uncertain environment. The biotechs, they broke a new low, and guess what? It's most likely going to rally from here. Most likely, we had people, uneducated people with stops underneath there, uneducated people who are looking at this saying, hey, the biotechs are falling apart, new low, let's short them. Instead, what they should be saying is, where has it come from? From 136 to 118. It just dropped 15%. Now it's more likely that it's going to bounce. Maybe not to, and I wasn't trying to draw with any precision there, but if I were trying to draw with some precision, I would look at these things: the volume weighted average price off of that peak, which is declining at about this rate, the 50-day moving average, which is declining at about this rate, the 20-day moving average, which is declining at about this rate. So what does that mean? Where's the likely level of supply going to be found if this does continue to bounce? Up here. Maybe you're interested in buying this for a bounce up to that level. If that's the way you look at trading, well, you've got to look at it from a shorter term perspective as well and say, where are we in terms of the week to date volume weighted average price, the 5 day moving average, the volume weighted average price from last week's high? Still ugly. So what we would want to see, if you were going to participate in that, let's put a volume weighted average price off of this low. Maybe tomorrow morning it comes in and does something like this. And then tomorrow's VWAP looks like this. The 2 day VWAP looks like that. And it crosses this level right here. Maybe you're interested in buying it with a stop under here, taking a piece off for a day trade at this point. The 5 day moving average comes down on it, and maybe it makes a higher low, so you set your stop under here and you either get stopped out or you hold some over the weekend, and you use the shorter term time frame. If it's still behaving well, and this isn't a prediction or a call for what this market's going to do, I think it's most likely, but if it still allows you to hold, then you decide, how much do I want to hold over the weekend? What stocks are reporting earnings next week? Do we have big biotechs reporting earnings next week that might screw this entire thesis up? It's never a simple thing to look at the market and know, no one knows what it's going to do, but even anticipate. I didn't mean to put oil up there, but oil's finding buyers at the 50-day moving average. The financial stocks came right down to where we said they were most likely to find a near-term bounce. They're getting that bounce. Where's it likely to bounce up to? Well, the volume weighted average price from this peak is obviously going to be important, as well as this one. Now, this volume weighted average price from 5 days ago, we're best to see it here on the shorter term time frame. So that is this level. So maybe again, maybe we run up here tomorrow, get people excited, and then it fails. It comes down like this. And maybe next week we start to see that rally up towards the declining 20-day moving average, the declining 50-day moving average, the declining VWAP off of that prior peak, and maybe it goes to 37, maybe it goes to 37.50, and then maybe it does that. It's not likely though, not when you see the longer term time frame still looking like garbage. Energy names are bouncing here from the year to date volume weighted average price. But again, I think that, longer term, they're probably just starting to undergo more of a time correction. So I'd still avoid them.